You're never going to believe who we talked to this week on Shoe and Show.
So yeah, I've got all these friends texting me going, "Oh man, you guys are so smart. How much did you pay to put the logo on the shirts?" I was like, "Yeah, no, those guys are just real cowboys just wearing the boots."
Hey everybody, welcome back to just another exciting and really interesting episode of the Shoe and Show. I'm your host this week, Matt Priest, and I'm really excited about this one because you may not know this. I kind of talk about my family from time to time in this podcast. We've been doing this a decade, so you've gotten to know me for quite a long time. But my father and my brother were born in Texas, and my father he went on to be a Marine, but he was the son of an Army chaplain, so he was born in San Antonio. My brother was born in Beeville, Texas, in West Texas, as it relates to a former Marine Corps station that was there. So I have a lot of Texas blood. I got Cowboys fans in my family, which I have to tolerate. But this conversation is really exciting to me because we are going to get back to what the good people at the Dallas Market Center are doing and some of the amazing brands that they're working with that are actually handcrafted in Texas. And so today with me is Cindy Morris, my friend, and who's president and CEO of the Dallas Market Center, and Ryan Vaughan, who's president and CEO of Rios of Mercedes. Cindy and Ryan, welcome to the Shoe and Show. I'm really excited to have you on.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, my pleasure. So first and foremost, are we Cowboys fans? I know we can kind of, I know you're based in Dallas, so I assume the answer is yes.
Sort of.
We should probably start putting our allegiance with the Texans. They've had the last couple of years a little better, but some deep ties there to Dallas. Yep.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, we'll set the NFL and football allegiances aside for this conversation and kind of come around something we all agree on, and that's footwear. But what's really interesting about, before we kind of dive into the amazing craftsmanship of the boots that you guys make, Ryan, is the fact that both of you are family-owned businesses and operations that have a rich heritage. And it makes sense to me from your perspective, Ryan. But Cindy, I'll start with you. I had no idea the Dallas Market Center was kind of a family-started business. So talk to me about why that makes you all such great partners to ensure that, Cindy, you're helping Ryan to get his boots out there to more great retailers as they come to the show.
Oh, absolutely, Matt. So, we were founded almost 70 years ago by Trammell Crow, and the Crow family owns the business now. But I think that what helps Dallas Market Center is so many of our customers, whether they're the brands that show at the Dallas Market Center or the retailers, they're family-owned businesses as well. And they're specialty stores or they're companies like Ryan's. And so we understand, the family side of it, the relationship piece of it, how important that is to maintain those relationships and meet your customers and understand what their needs are, what their priorities are, what their challenges are, so we can better serve their business. And I think it really creates a differentiator for us as a market center, and it has helped so much as we continue to nurture those relationships through great times and through challenging times.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And we've had a lot of both lately. Let's be honest with ourselves, right? So Ryan, talk to me about the Rios of Mercedes story for those who aren't familiar with who you have been and who you are today.
Sure, yeah. So the Rios family started building boots in General, Mexico around 1853, and they came up to the border. They crossed into southern Texas, and one branch of the family went to Raymondville, which is up in the ranch country, kind of by the south of the King Ranch, and then Zeffirino settled in Mercedes. So that is where the Rios of Mercedes. There was Rios of Raymondville, Rios of Mercedes. And so Zeffirino really focused on a lot of the custom boots, the higher end, where his brother Avram really focused on the ranch boots and really took care of a lot of the King Ranch Queñeños Cowboys. And so it's kind of spawned off of that in the early 70s. My father-in-law and his father purchased the company, and it's been family owned, and Evans and now the Vaughan family since then. And we've got our family of brands that we support. We've got 3 brands that we build here in Texas, and then we manufacture some boots down in Leon, Guanajuato. But yeah, as Cindy said, it's just the family roots are just deep, and especially in the Western industry. There's just a lot of mom and pop Western stores and all over the country, but especially when you get out to West Texas and Oklahoma, there's generational stores that have been supporting their community, their churches, they're employing people, they're taking care of their 4-H and FFA kids, and it's just the way our industry is built. The ethics, the morals, the values are family just doing things the right way with integrity. And so when you can identify with that customer base and they identify with you and at the market center, it's just a perfect match.
That is a perfect match. And, Cindy, you and I talked about it on our last conversation. In fact, I was just in the UK and I was joking with my daughter who was with me about how when you're overseas, and you're American, everyone thinks you're either a Yankee, which I'm not, or a cowboy. And that's just Americana, right? That's just the image globally of what people think about when they think about American culture, is that cowboy and Western culture, which is so vibrant. And Cindy, we talked about it prior to this, is that like Western's having a moment, and the moment just kind of continues and continues and continues. So talk to me about how kind of Rios of Mercedes is fitting into that and what you're seeing there at the show right there on site in Dallas.
Well, in 2021, we moved the Western show from Denver to Dallas. And at that point in time, worked with Ryan and his group on creating a permanent space here in the Dallas Market Center. And they're showcasing about 800 pair of boots in this space. It's absolutely amazing to see. And so the partnership really started at that point with them. And when we looked at moving Western here, there were really a couple of key benefits. One was that for the manufacturers, they were able to sell those retailers that may not have been pure Western. And when you look at times like today, when Western is such a hot theme, you have mainstream apparel stores that may just want to carry a few pair of boots or a few hats or a few belts. And so we were able to provide that buyer segment this Western product. And then on the flip side of it, provide those Western retailers the opportunity to buy, some young contemporary or fast fashion to augment into their product mix. So it was such a huge win, I think, for the industry, because it was bringing new buyer segments. Because I guess the way we look at it as a market center, and Ryan can certainly chime in on this, is that, you know who you know and you know your customers. But if we can bring you new customers and we can grow, areas like the whole, Latino market and bring those retailers in and the international markets, and or bring in apparel retailers, it's all growth and new opportunity for your business. So that's where we think we really played a pivotal role in the Western market when we were able to bring it from Denver here in 2021.
I have a really serious question for you, Cindy. Was there cattle drive involved in moving your show from Denver to Dallas? I have a vision of you guys in a caravan, like pushing cattle towards Dallas. But
I wish that would have been really fun. But if you go to the Fort Worth stockyards every day, there is an amazing cattle drive that goes on. But I have to say this selfishly. I mean, being in Texas, we felt like the industry belongs in Texas. I mean, the Western industry really belongs here. So we were absolutely thrilled to bring it into Texas. And now it's only blossomed, particularly with all the Taylor Sheridan movies. I mean, it's insane what's going on, and the growth in Fort Worth and the stockyards. I mean, but Ryan can talk about that as well.
I have to, Ryan, let's talk about that. The Sheridan verse, right? There's like a show every other week that comes out. And again, going back to my trip overseas, it was all over billboards on buses in London pushing these shows. And that's got to be helpful to kind of build that brand heat, right? Or that desire for not maybe everyday kind of Western wearers to come into the Western world and look for great boots like you all make.
Yeah, I mean, I think just going back, there's all kinds of silver linings that came out of COVID. One of them was, a lot of people that worked in cities didn't have time. They were traveling with their kids, doing traveling ball schedules, meetings, trips, and everything stopped, and they had more time to get outside of town, maybe go back out to grandpa's ranch or go to the uncle's property and put their kids on a horse. And all of a sudden they had their Yeti sticker on their truck, and they, pack a cooler and go out there, and they liked it. And it was like, oh, wow, this is why dad did this. This is why grandpa did this. This is that getting back to nature, to working with your hands, to getting a little dirty. And started team roping, and then started the cutting horse and reining cow horse. The competitive horse show world just exploded because everybody had time to do the things that they really wanted to do. And so other than about 3 or 4 months there, a lot of uncertainty, and I'm not trying to say that COVID wasn't a serious, but people just really started buying fence work and building stalls and refixing things and buying, eventually boots and Western wear. And I think that just really spawned off with the whole Yellowstone and all of what Taylor Sheridan's doing. And The thing that I think is gets overlooked is Taylor Sheridan's putting a lot of money into the horse show world. And that's where, I mean, our core customer is a cutting horse trainer, a rein cow horse trainer, a guy who is on horse training horses. I mean, just like you go to the Kentucky Derby, or there are trainers that train race horses. Well, there are trainers that train cutting horses and rein cow horses. And that is I mean, that's like, if you can outfit Michael Jordan in a pair of shoes, or you can outfit some of the best guys, then that's puts you on a pinnacle, and you get all of their disciples that wear them. And of course, these people are the highest of the highest caliber of people across all the country that are probably driving the nicest truck and wearing the best clothes and the nicest hat and have the best saddle, and they end up turning to be your kind of endorsers of the product. But it is a thriving industry, and yes, it's having a moment, but I really feel like people realized that they just kind of felt a little cooler whenever they were putting a pair of cowboy boots on or wearing a hat. I mean, hat sales are still phenomenal. I mean, they just had 2 days of George Strait out in Lubbock, Texas, and our retailer out there said he's never had a bigger weekend since 1995 when he bought the store. Whoa. I mean, Christmas, Black Friday, nothing. They packed that stadium, and 180,000 people came into town to watch George Strait. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
That is very impressive. That was the year I graduated high school. That was a long time ago. So that's crazy. Now, I have 3 daughters, which means I've binge watched every single episode of Heartland. Now, I know Heartland's Canadian, but there's a lot of the world that you talked about, Ryan, is like caught up in that. Have you had opportunities for product placement? I'm just asking kind of as a novice, but are there opportunities to put your boots in these kind of programs so that people can see them, or does that happen naturally? Is there a process behind that?
Well, the funny thing is, this isn't Taylor Sheridan used to wear Anderson Bean boots. It's one of our brands. Yeah. And whenever they were first putting the Yellowstone together, our friend Trent Johnson from Greeley Hat Works was doing the hats with them. And he said, "Hey, they want boots." And I said, "That's great. We'll be happy to sell them to them at wholesale." So we sold them 28 pairs of, actually we did the Rios of Mercedes brand the first season. We sold them to them, and then I had no idea how, exploded. And of course, then they came and they said, "Hey, we got some people wanting to give us boots." And I said, "Yeah, sorry about that. We don't really give boots away." And so they went off and did some other things. But during the season, I guess, I don't know, first few seasons, we had some endorsers that we've been, have been wearing our boots for years with the embroidery on their shirts show up on there. And so, I've got all these friends texting me going, "Oh man, you guys are so smart. How much did you pay to put the logo on the shirts?" I was like, "Yeah, no, those guys are just real cowboys just wearing the boots." And so, no, we haven't, I don't want to be cocky, but we just have more work than we can handle. So it's kind of hard to even go spending a bunch of money to get our brands out there whenever we can't even take on new business. So you want to make sure your brands are strong and in front of the right people, but at the same time, you got to be pretty wise when you're allocating marketing monies. So we haven't gone down that road yet.
Well, I'm really impressed because when your friend texts you, "Yeah, smart. How much you pay?" You're like, I'm smarter than you even think because I paid him nothing. Like that's just that is like a coup like none other. So kudos to you. Now, Cindy, we were talking before we hit record on this conversation, and you were excited because you had some show and tell items, which we'd like to do on this program. And so I want to kind of dive into some of the amazing product. And then, Ryan, I'm going to come back to you and talk about you talked about Leon and obviously what in Mexico and what you make here in Texas or in the States. I want to kind of unpack that operation a little bit more further. But let's take a look at some great products, Cindy, if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely. So, and Ryan can even talk a little bit about these, but this is your 250th anniversary boot. And you have the Liberty Bell, and then here there's actually little wooden drumsticks on this boot. I mean, it is absolutely amazing. That is awesome. I mean, it's incredible. I can't even tell you the detail. Like when the pants, are suede. I mean, it's super amazing.
Now, can you buy that, or is that like a one of a kind kind of thing?
That's a one of a. It was actually made for the bicentennial, which was in 1976, and so that book's been in several museums, and it's made it around to the governor's mansion, and it is a showpiece boot, that's for sure. That was whenever Rios had a little more time on their hands than the craftsmen to make some pieces of art.
So this could be a great boot. Yeah, for the 250th anniversary, this is a very cool blue boot. Uh-huh. And so here, I mean, the work on this
Oh my
is
gosh, it's
absolutely
phenomenal.
spectacular, super cool. And then this one is amazing. This is, I think, an alligator on
That's
the
beautiful.
Alligator with
and the
hand tools.
tooling work is just spectacular. And then one last one. This is a great silver floral.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just, as I said, I mean, there's 800 different options of boots in the
800?
showroom. 800. I could not believe
Man.
it. I mean, and it's men's, it's women's, it's children's. And then obviously they serve that luxury Western market, but then also, what is that emerging workwear market? I mean, that's a whole nother opportunity and industry that we see here at Dallas Market Center. And it crosses into Western and it crosses into mainstream.
Yeah.
The workwear side. And I think Ryan has one of his brands, Horsepower, is actually within that market. So, I mean, they cover it all in the showroom. And I think that's why it's such a great match with Dallas Market Center, because it's the same categories that we carry as well. So
Yeah.
it's exciting, but I mean, it's overwhelming. I don't know. I can't imagine being a buyer and coming in here and trying to select, which pair of boots. And then you have to decide, okay, what do we do on the top here? What kind of stitching are we doing? I mean, Ryan could talk to all that, but it's overwhelming in a great, great way.
Yeah, no, that's phenomenal. What craftsmanship and Horsepower, like that was a name just out there for the taking, and it's such an obvious name, but it's a play on words with your work, your work kind of wear. What a cool brand name to be as a part of the brands that are in your company. But Ryan, I want to hear more about the operations that make those beautiful boots, and how do you decide what you make down in Leon and Guanajuato and compared to what you do in Texas, and how many employees do you have? Or are there things like that are interesting to share with our audience about how you bring this great product to life?
So the Rios of Mercedes brand is our pinnacle brand. We're very selective on partnerships. We really don't try to, we're really kind of capped out about what we can build there to maintain the quality. And so we really focus a lot of our growth at the mid-price range, which is Anderson Bean. My father-in-law started that in the 80s, named for his grandma and mother, Helen Anderson and Macy Bean. He always wanted to honor the ranch women of West Texas. There are 5 generations of ranchers out there that grew up, and they always kept the ranches going, educated the kids, kept everybody healthy and fed, and so they wanted to honor. So Anderson Bean is our probably our biggest American brand. And then we bought the Olathe Boot Company out of Olathe, Kansas in 2001, which has roots from the old Hire Boot Company. And so it was kind of the beginning of the Chisholm Trail and the end up in Kansas City. So all the South Texas cattle would run up to Kansas City to sell their cattle to get off to Chicago in the Northeast. And that's where Mr. C.H. Hire was building boots in Olathe. And so you had the Rios of Mercedes Foundation in the South and Hire/Olathe Boot Company in the North. And so we brought that production down into Mercedes. We're now making those boots in El Paso. But in the late 90s and early 2000s, we really kind of found a niche with the wide square toe, which was very fashionable in dress shoes. And my father-in-law went to Milan to the leather show and saw all the fashion houses doing wide square. And we were doing a lot of round toes at the time, and came back and started listening to some of our retailers in Oklahoma City. And they said, hey, there's some custom guys out there doing kind of a square toe. Maybe we should do that. And so we started our first Milan square toe, which just really took off in our industry.
Fancy.
And we had some brands that were knocking us off, and we were going to Mexico and going overseas. And we said, hold on a second, we can do that better than you can. And so that's when we went down in 2004 and started the Horsepower brand, and really took what we knew about cowboy boots, which is a lot of it is fit. Mr. Pat Moody was partners with my father-in-law, Trainer Evans, for years. Mr. Pat is really good about insteps and heels and ball of the foot and throat measurements. And so taking a boot that doesn't have all of the guts for a guy like me or you that's not horseback every day and not with spurs on and not in this, in the pens washing horses every day.
That will never be a day for me.
Right, exactly. It's us pretty boys. It's a pretty good boot for us pretty boys that just doesn't need all of the guts in it, but has the fit and the look of a good Texas-made cowboy boot. And so that's where we really went. And that's a boot that really serves for a lot of the Boot Barn, which is kind of our Walmart of the industry. Boot Barn, and then Cavender's is the other big outfit that's kind of like our target, I guess you could say, in our industry of really big growth brands. And a boot that's going to retail in the $250 to $300 range is going to have a lot more volume than your higher end $400, $500 boots. And then we have a ladies line, Macy Bean, that's kind of our ladies version of the Mexico made boot. So that's really kind of how you say, how do we determine? A lot of it's just listening to our retailers. And that's one of the great things about the Dallas Market Center. They've created such a great venue to make it easy for our retailers to come to work with us and listen to see what niches need to be filled. I mean, we don't have people go, who's your design team? And, it's our retailers. They're the ones telling us what they need. If another brand that's had a niche is giving up on it or moving off to something else and kind of, discontinuing it, they'll go, hey, this is an opportunity right here, and it's a small business, but go get it. And we can go pivot and move really quickly. And so we don't want to try to be all things to all people, but our retailers really appreciate that we're limited in distribution. We don't do any direct to consumer. So we're kind of like the unicorn on the 14th floor that doesn't do anything. And so they come to us because we built really cool stuff in Texas and make high quality things. And then they're like, oh, wow, we like you guys. What else can we buy from you? And we go, oh, let's show you all of the boots that we make down in Mexico where we can really make the money. And then that helps us cash flow the hard stuff that we do in Texas. So I always want to try to find a niche of where we live, but sometimes the niche is just the partnership between us and our retailers. They just go, we want to buy more stuff from you. So
how did you fight the urge? How many times a year, Ryan, do you guys come together, like the leadership of the company, and say, should we do direct to consumer? It just seems like that itch probably you have to scratch, you got to attempt not to scratch that probably consistently. Or is it, you know what, we don't even think about it. Like that is a line we will never cross. Like, how do you kind of navigate that?
It is that strong in our end. My father-in-law and his partner tried it in the 80s when oil went to $10 a barrel. They tried to open up stores in Houston. They opened 3 stores, and he says he has 356,000 reasons why not to ever get into the retail business again. And that's what I was raised on. This is what we do. We support our retail partners, and we just have fiercely loyal customers. I mean, we screw up a lot. I mean, we're making handmade boots in South Texas. It's not easy. Our deliveries are 12 to 14 months out, and our quality, that boot needs to be perfect, and sometimes it's not. And our retailers are very gracious with us. They appreciate what we're trying to do, but you've got to have a really strong loyalty to be able to plan that far in advance and pay your bills. We're really strict on. It's a partnership both ways. You got to pay your bills too, and our retailers are really good to us.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And they all come to Dallas for Cindy's show. So Cindy, talk to me about like the 2026 plans, obviously the dates, things you might have in store, anything else I'm not thinking about that's going to be really a draw to bring in not only the retailers, which are so critically important for any trade show, obviously, but obviously also these great brands like Ryan heads. So what are the plans for 2026 at the Dallas Market Center?
So our next Western show will be in August. We do 2 Western shows a year, in August and in January. And, beyond the Western side of the business, we also have the English writing side of the business too. And so we have the group West that produces the Western temporaries. We do all the permanent. And then we also, Dallas Market Center produces the English temporary side. But our 14th floor, the World Trade Center, which is about 250,000 square feet, is 100% leased with permanent Western showrooms. And then we had about half of our 10th floor also leased, and we're now expanding that and adding another 20 or so showrooms. And so we've had a waiting list for so long for brands that are wanting to come into the marketplace. And so we're constantly looking to see how do we satisfy that demand. And we work really closely with our exhibitors on that. And just as a quick side note, I want to mention when we started this whole process with the Western industry, we formed a Western Leadership Council. And we did that, and it's principles of a lot of the brands in the business. And we did that to get their feedback and to understand, again, as I talked earlier, what are their priorities and how do we best service their business? And Ryan has been a valuable part of that council since its inception. And it's really helped us as a market center to be able to adapt and make sure that we're satisfying both the exhibitor needs as well as the buyer needs. So we're looking forward to an amazing August market. I think Ryan can confirm that, the August shows in Dallas have grown significantly over the past 5 years. Usually at most markets, there's one show that's really big when a lot of your lines are breaking, and then there's a secondary show much smaller. And although January is still the biggest, August is catching up very quickly and has gotten extremely strong here. So that's giving our brands, two great sales opportunities a year, and our retailers two opportunities too, because what we tend to find on some categories is the retailers are stocking closer to need. They're coming in and for Ryan, they can't. I mean, they have to order his boots 12 to 14 months out, which is great. But on some of particularly the apparel, they're coming in sometimes looking for immediates. If they did that Lubbock retailer that had that amazing George Strait weekend, they may even be here in 3 weeks at our June apparel show looking to pick up some product, to fill in those shelves that, are probably half empty now. So our two Western, our next one will be August and then January, but we also do 5 apparel shows a year. And so in June, August, October, January, and March. And so those are opportunities. And many of our Western showrooms are open for those shows as well to take advantage of, again, those apparel stores that are looking to enter this category.
Yeah. And I have to ask another question, Cindy. Have you created official, really big belt buckles for the council members to wear? They have to wear when they come to the meeting. That would be a cool token of appreciation for serving on the
that actually would be. And we do have a pretty famous belt plate maker on the council that we should talk to about that.
For sure, he'll hook you up.
Budget for that one, though.
Yeah, that would have to be a pretty big budget, because he's one of the best in that part of the business, just like Ryan is on the boot side of the business.
Yeah. Well, all this mention of George Strait, it does bring up a question for me, Ryan, and I'm kind of an old school country guy. I love Johnny Cash, I like the classics. But then I'm locked in the 90s country era, like the Garths and the George Straits, and Toby Keith was just starting to emerge at the time. But country's gotten really poppy, and the Shabuzis of the world, and it's broadened the aperture of the fan base, right? And so has that also, do you think that's another driving force that's maybe democratized Western wear across different consumer groups that may not normally have come into the fold, if you will, just because the music or the culture is trending in that way?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think you can go back to the whole Taylor Swift thing. I mean, that was such a thing. She was a icon in the Western, getting all these girls wearing boots, and then she kind of moved away. But boy, there's a lot of people that filled that spot. And I mean, I don't know about you, but there is a country music, something going on just about every weekend in Texas and Oklahoma. I mean, they're putting a lot of these festivals together, 2-day festivals, two-step in. I mean, there's just, yeah, definitely. There's a draw. And I mean, I was listening to I've got 3 daughters too, and I've got listened to my 17-year-old the other day, and I'm listening to it, and I was like, this sounds like old school country, hon. And she's like, oh yeah, he's great. And I'm like, wow, this is not bro country. I mean, they're listening to some really good country music. And I was like, wow, this is great. And it's my 17-year-old daughter. And then my 21-year-old's like, oh yeah, everybody at College Station at A&M's listening to him. And I'm like, praise the Lord. I mean, there's some good stuff coming out. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just that whole embracing the values and the morals. And I think some of that comes with music. I mean, obviously I know a lot of lyrics aren't the greatest, but I think you get a little better at that in the country side of things, hopefully. But yeah, and then you look at what Nashville's doing. I mean, my goodness, Nashville's just exploding, and the convention center, and there's just stuff going on every weekend, and all of the bridesmaids going out there for wedding bachelorette parties. And I mean, that's a good thing for our industry. I mean, it's not a $600 customer, but it's that $199 boot kind of customer wearing a hat. And so as long as our retailers are doing good business, and I mean, I didn't even bring up the whole Tecovas thing. I'm sure you're familiar with them, but I mean, they've been quite a disruptor in our industry, but they've got a lot of people in boots that would have never felt comfortable enough to go into a Western store, and they could order them at home, put them on in their house, try them on with a pair of jeans. The next thing you know, they want to get a pearl snap shirt, and maybe they want some boot socks, and they'll go into a Boot Barn or a Cavender's and may see my boots. And so I think it's just healthy. The more you have more people wearing it and desiring it, it's great. So yeah, music's definitely, that was a long answer to your question.
I'm digging it, man. I'm digging it. By the way,
I told you, I love talking about our industry.
There's so much to talk about. And I think I've been racking my brain during our conversation, Ryan, and we've done this for literally a decade. We're coming up on our 10-year anniversary of this podcast. We're at I don't know what episode we're at, 500 and something. And this is the first time I think someone's had a cowboy hat and totally made us way cooler than we already are in our episodes. So thank you for thank you for showing up in form. So I really do appreciate that. Cindy.
It is the uniform.
It is the uniform. It's like required. Belt buckle, boots, hat,
Well, my father-in-law said, start shirt, starts jeans, a cowboy hat, and a cowboy boots. That's your uniform every day. So.
That's right.
I know, we need to get Matt down here for a Western show.
I would love to
Get him
come down for a
outfitted.
Western show. I have boots of my own I could bring. I think I have a hat somewhere. So I literally was in Scotland last week and waiting to board a flight home. And there were 3 guys in cowboy hats. And I'm like, Americans. I knew exactly that they were American. Of course, they were over there golfing. But, it's a global phenomenon. When you see someone in a cowboy hat, you can automatically assign them to our great Western culture and Americana. And just the story about how business drove the decisions in Kansas City just based on industry, drove the need to create these boots that you guys acquired. And it's just a phenomenal thing. You're listening to your retailer that's helping inform what you're doing. You're partnering with Cindy about how to meet with those retailers in a really cool environment. So thank you for coming on and sharing your story. Cindy, I want you to have the last word so you can kind of direct people on how to get more information about Dallas Market Center. And then Ryan, you can tell us how to get more information about your great boots, but where should people go if they want to get connected with you guys?
For Dallas Market Center, it's www.dallasmarketcenter.com. And so we've got an amazing website as well as an app. So when the retailers are here at market, it's super easy. They download that app. They can find all the brands, the events, everything going on. And one thing we do here that I think is really appreciated by the retailers, are we do these incredible fashion shows during market where we take these brands and we and create looks on the runway, so then they can sit and watch and then come shop the next day and pick out all their favorites and place those orders. And so it really inspires them and creates a great energy level in the building. And so that's one thing I think that really makes us a little different in how we approach the business. Is it's always about trying to, what can we do to help that retailer find what they need and then send them to that brand to do those purchases.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it sounds like, Ryan, you could just walk out of this podcast and right up to the catwalk at the fashion show and sport your look, right? You'd be perfect. So
those shows get a little racy sometimes. I don't know if I can have a good enough six-pack to do the dance moves and things.
Your limits.
There is an energy in that Dallas Market Center that's just contagious. And then whenever we moved from Denver to Dallas, it's exciting coming in there. They've got the music, they've got the great lighting, they've got the shops and the restaurants, and there's always business going on, and it really is a neat environment to set up and show, and we're just so grateful to be a part of it. And yeah, if anybody wanted to reach out to us, it's a Rios of Mercedes family of brands. You can search Rios, it's the Rios family of brands that you can find all of our brands there. But I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and just Cindy's done an amazing job promoting us and helping create a great environment for us to be able to set up and show, and just real grateful for it. And thank you, Matt, for having us.
That's my pleasure. As a man of faith myself and as a father of 3 daughters, I think I was required to have you on, Ryan. But so I've met my requirement and I feel good about it. So thank you to you both for coming on and spending some time with me. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Of course. So thanks for joining us for this conversation. I hope that you go check out the Dallas Market Center. Check out all the great things that they're doing. Go and check out Ryan's brands. The craftsmanship was phenomenal. If you're listening to this, you didn't see it on video, go check out the video. And make sure you're back with us next week as we have another exciting edition of the Shoe and Show program. So until next time, Shoe and Show is out.
Shoe In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.